200 years ago, nobody waited for the power company to keep their family from freezing. My father spent 30 years as a bosun on merchant ships out of New Bedford, and long before diesel heaters and shore power, sailors kept themselves alive through North Atlantic winters using nothing but fire, stone, and know-how. Most of what kept people warm before electricity has nothing to do with a generator, and almost none of it costs money. Here's what most people believe. If the power goes out in winter, you're stuck with blankets and hoping. That's wrong. Our grandparents, and the sailors before them, had 24 different ways to make heat, hold heat, and trap heat, and most of that knowledge just quietly disappeared once the thermostat showed up on the wall. My name's Robert Barry, and everything in this video is real. No theory, no gimmicks. I'm walking you through 25 heating methods, grouped into 5 families: fire-based heat, stored heat, trapped heat, body heat, and chemical heat. By the end, you'll understand not just what to do, but why each one worked, and the one mistake in this list that's killed more people than the cold ever did. Let's start with fire, because that's where every list like this has to start. Fire-based heat. A masonry rocket stove burns small sticks at high efficiency and channels the heat through a mass of brick or cob before it escapes. You get hours of radiant warmth from a few handfuls of fuel because the heat gets stored in the mass, not wasted up the flue. A wood cook stove does 2 jobs at once, heats the room and the food, and that dual-purpose design is exactly why farmhouses centered their whole floor plan around the kitchen stove. A coal stove burns slower and hotter than wood, which is why ships and city apartments used it. Less fuel volume needed for the same heat output over a long watch or a long night. A clay pot candle heater, 2 terracotta pots stacked over a few tea candles, concentrates candle heat that would otherwise just rise and vanish, radiating it back out through the clay instead. A homemade tin can stove, fed with cardboard rolled into fuel logs, turns garbage into real, sustained heat. Sailors and dock workers used scrap fuel fires like this when coal ran short mid-voyage. Stored heat, thermal mass. Heated soapstone slabs, warmed by the fire and wrapped in cloth, held heat for hours in a bed or a coat pocket. Soapstone holds heat longer than almost any common material, which is exactly why it was standard issue on cold water fishing boats. A hot water bottle works on the same principle. Water holds heat exceptionally well, releasing it slowly instead of all at once. Thick masonry or stone walls, warmed by daytime sun or a fire, release that heat back into the room for hours after the source is gone. This is the entire reason old farmhouses and stone cottages were built with such heavy walls. Sand-filled heat boxes, warmed near a fire and placed under floorboards or in a bed frame, worked the same way sailors packed heated sand into berths below decks before an overnight watch in freezing water. Heated stones wrapped and placed at the foot of a bed were standard in nearly every cold farmhouse. Simple, free, and it's the direct ancestor of the modern hot water bottle. Trapped heat, passive, solar, and insulation. A south-facing window with the curtains open all day traps solar heat inside the glass. Free heat, no fuel, and it's the single most overlooked method on this entire list. Black-painted metal or stone panels placed in direct sun absorb heat far faster than light surfaces and re-radiate it once the sun goes down. This is the same principle behind why a dark rooftop deck gets hot enough to burn bare feet. Straw bale insulation packed into wall cavities traps still air. And still air is what actually blocks cold. The straw itself barely matters. It's the trapped air pockets doing the work. A rolled towel or fabric draft snake along a door bottom blocks the single biggest heat leak in most rooms. More heat escapes through gaps than through walls. Layered curtains. A heavy outer layer and a thin inner layer create a trapped air buffer against the glass, cutting window heat loss dramatically compared to a single curtain. Body heat. A feather-tick mattress traps body heat underneath you as effectively as blankets trap it above you. Our grandparents slept warmer on a feather bed with fewer blankets than we do today with more. Wool layered against skin rather than cotton keeps insulating even when damp. Sailors relied on wool specifically because cotton loses its warmth the moment it gets wet from sea spray or sweat. A four-poster bed with heavy curtains drawn, closed at night, traps your own body heat in a small enclosed space, effectively turning your bed into its own heated room. Share in body heat by sleeping close together, whether family in one room or crew below deck, was a deliberate survival strategy long before it became a coincidence of small houses. Hot bricks or stones wrapped in wool at the foot of the bed did double duty, the same trick used at sea and on the farm, warming the coldest part of the body first. Chemical heat. An active compost pile generates real heat through microbial decomposition. Some piles reach 130 to 160 degrees at the core, and farmers used to run pipes through compost heaps to warm greenhouses in winter. Quicklime mixed carefully with water produces an exothermic chemical reaction that generates significant heat. This is the same basic chemistry inside some modern instant hand warmers. A fresh manure pile, insulated and left to break down, was a genuine winter heat source for greenhouses and cold frames. The same decomposition heat as compost, just at a larger, longer-lasting scale. A fermenting grain or feed mash generates gentle heat as a byproduct of fermentation. Barns sometimes use this incidental warmth to keep water troughs from freezing overnight, and that's 24. Here's number 25, and it's the one that matters most, because it's not a heating method at all. It's the rule that makes every method above safe instead of deadly. Any of these fire-based or combustion methods used indoors, a tin can stove, a coal stove, even a rocket stove, produces carbon monoxide, a gas with no smell and no color. My father watched a crewmate go from fine to unconscious in minutes in a poorly ventilated engine room, and it's the reason every enclosed heat source on a ship had a mandatory air intake. Never run any combustion heater in a sealed room. Always crack a window or vent. And if you can, keep a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector nearby. It's the one piece of modern technology worth keeping even in an all-forgotten methods setup like this. This is also where I'd point you to something free. I put together a one-page reference breaking down which of these 25 methods need ventilation, which are genuinely fuel-free, and which pair best together for a real cold night. It's linked below, no email required. So there it is, 25 ways to make real heat with no electricity, split across fire, stored mass, trapped sun, body warmth, and simple chemistry.